Hello, welcome to my channel, Wing Spiritual Clarity. My name is Wendy Wing. I'm doing a psychic tarot reading for you, tuning into the day's energy, seeing what divine messages of guidance come through. This is a general reading, so take what resonates and leave the rest. All right. Hope this reading finds you happy and healthy and enjoying your journey to becoming more and more yourself. The overall energy of today's reading is the Eight of Cups. A lot of emotions. This is also, even though there are a lot of emotions, maybe emotional attachments, there's walking away from something, even though there's still emotions there, still attachments, because it's just not enough. It's not completely fulfilling. Feels like there's emotional attachments because of past experiences. However, it's just, yes, with the Chariot in reverse, it feels like something wasn't moving on, something wasn't moving, there was no giddy up and go. Stuck. And yeah, boy, Hanged Man and Chariot reverse. Hanged Man showing up with the Knight of Cups in reverse. So it feels like someone told you a false illusion to get you hooked in, to get you stuck. So far, this could be a relationship, it could be a job. Someone told you what you wanted to hear, so you'd say yes, but it was a false illusion. It was not true. It feels like this person told you a false reality, told you what you wanted to hear. So you would say, yes, of course. Oh my gosh. But this false reality was very disappointing. Nothing moved forward. Nothing was true. Nothing was real. Boy, Four of Wands in reverse just popped out and went back in. Four of Cups comes out. So I get the feeling that the relationship was kind of, in a way, over before it started because it's on a false premise. Just disappointing, upsetting, lots of emotions here. All right. Hidden blessings. We have the Six of Cups in reverse. There's something about what you're walking away from that's reminiscent of some childhood wounds, unhealed childhood wounds that you have. Feels like this person might have been whoever told you the false reality, that it's reminiscent of maybe one of your parents. It looks like there was breadcrumbing. So this person told you what you wanted to hear. Once they got you hooked in, Hanged Man, then you're stuck. And then they're not investing anything. So, geez. So what's the hidden blessing? Maybe that you figured this out, that this relationship sheds light on some unhealed childhood wounds. Feels like this person took advantage of unhealed childhood wounds to manipulate you. Feels like you were primed for believing a fantasy because of those unhealed wounds. And it's with the Eight of Cups coming out in reverse. It feels like it's very difficult because there's emotional attachments. This feels like love bombing. Someone told you that they were the one. They want everything that you want, and everything that you're saying, well, what about this? What about that? They're like, yes, oh my gosh, me too. I want the same thing you want. And so you're like, oh my gosh, how lucky am I? But they just said what they needed to say to get you hooked in, stuck. And then it feels like they just disappear. There's a lot of, they just pull their energy away. There might be some financial abuse here to make you dependent. It feels like you're a very independent person at the beginning when you get into this relationship, but you're not allowed to be independent because they've got to keep you hooked in. And so maybe financial abuse, get you dependent so you can't leave. It feels like anything that you want to do for yourself is not permissible in this environment. Okay. Hidden blessing is it looks like your world started expanding. You started creating expansion from inside this relationship. Something that was for you, and that's just not allowed. It feels like that. It's one of the reasons. It feels like with the Tower coming out that this false reality that this person created, a fictitious environment, not true, not real. It feels like from inside the relationship, you started creating for yourself, having expansion, which is just not allowed. You're not allowed to have anything for yourself as I'm reading this. And that just collapsed this false reality. I'm hearing devastating. Even though feels like this relationship was not what is expected, it feels like there's just a lot of time and energy and trying to make this work. Something that was never intended to work. It was meant to trap you, keep you off balance, and unable to reimagine your life elsewhere. With the High Priestess coming out, I'm also sensing from inside this relationship that you started attuning to kind of waking up, maybe, kind of having your intuition kick in. Doesn't matter, you can't bring it up because it feels like anytime from inside this relationship you talk about truths and facts, what's going on, it's not invited, it's not welcome. You gotta keep up the false illusions to be in this relationship. Whew. I feel like the hidden blessing is your expansion. The hidden blessing is realizing that this is not for you and having the bravery and the courage to leave leave something that is so disappointing. It feels like you're exhausted by that time. Feels like there's some anger and frustration that you can allow to rise and give you the energy to do whatever, using that energy of anger and frustration instead of at the person who created this false illusion. and just focus on you, on healing, on moving forward. All right, what you're leaving behind is the Hermit, Virgo energy. So it feels like to leave this environment after false reality collapsed. It feels, what I'm seeing is you're going through a dark night of the soul, having to journey by yourself to explore, ego death. Whew. Ooh, that's a lot of, from heart space to lower chakras, just, I'm hearing a purge, emotions coming out, meeting yourself in a very deep and profound way, having to tackle things by yourself. What's interesting, though, is it feels like you were very alone within this relationship, which has given you plenty of practice to be really by yourself and do things on your own. You haven't really had someone helping you. You've had someone with their boot on your neck. So when you leave that environment, you realize, oh, well, it's actually much easier to do things, to be alone, than be with someone who's not supportive, but somebody who's got a boot on my neck. Wow. Strength card, Judgment reverse, Justice. There's a lot of major arcana cards coming out in what you're leaving behind. It feels like this dark night of the soul gives you courage and strength as you meet yourself in new and profound ways, as you start taking action towards what scares you, what creates fear. That's when I started gaining strength and confidence, figuring my stuff out, taking action, whatever comes to me, being present with and accepting with what is instead of how it should be. And then I became more and more confident of what I can do, because I've done it and I've shown myself, and potential things, not letting fear stop me from expansion and growing. It looks like this person just judges you so harshly, so critical of you. I don't think they're seeing you. Thank you. Hi. That was JJ. That was the bluebird. It feels like they can't even see you, really. It feels like there's a function that a role, and it's not partner. This is not a kind way to treat a partner, but they want some role. They benefit somehow from being in a relationship with you. And they don't give anything into the relationship. It looks like then they turn and start blaming you. You're the problem. And they keep practicing that. So they can't appreciate, because they don't appreciate you. They haven't practiced that. They don't care about you. They don't appreciate you. But what they do is blame you. You're to blame. You're the reason why. It's not true, but I'm kind of tuning into this person's mindset. The function of this relationship, what they wanted you for, is to have someone close to them that they can just be cruel to, behind closed doors, blame everything on so they can be the good, shiny person out and about. This is a real mean, cruel. That if anybody knew about that aspect of them, so it feels like they treat you that way, but then they've got to make some safety, put some things into place. So if you are at some point able to communicate and speak out, they need to already, if this is someone very manipulative, as I'm tuning in, it's just, if they put in just this work on a partnership or focusing on healing their wounds, that's a lot of effort to this pretense. All right. It feels like, I know this is what you're leaving behind, but I feel like you're leaving judgment, someone who's so critical of you, someone who can't see anything good about you, and that's not the truth. It's just that they have not practiced caring for you for a long time. They haven't practiced appreciating you. They've practiced blaming you for everything. This doesn't feel like they communicate those problems or issues in a way so that you could repair and fix. It's just blame. Okay, I'm going to move on. How to get the most of this energy is the Nine of Cups in reverse. This is my card for centering someone else. When this person, it feels like they believe that all things, that you should center them in your experience, that you need to make them happy, that it's your job to make them happy, to center them in your experience, to center the relationship, to have nothing else going on in your life but focus on them and never complain about anything, but see this person as a hero. Amazing, adored, so they want adoration. When this happens, when you center someone else in your experience and you're centering the relationship in someone else, then you become more and more out of alignment with what's for you. You become less and less yourself. Less and less effective, less and less aligned. So more and more tired, more and more exhausted, more confused, more emotionally unstable, because you are not meant to center someone else in your experience. You're meant to align with and attune to your own energies. This person wants you to abandon yourself completely. They don't want to heal the relationship. They don't want to change it. They want this. They want you to center them in their relationship, their happiness. It doesn't matter if you're happy. It doesn't matter if you're pleased or enjoying life. It's about their enjoyment, their emotions. And you need to give up everything that's you and for you and abandon yourself. Again and again. That's the pithy, that's it. That's what they want. And so it looks like once you realize that is the relationship they want, they don't want to change it. They don't care how you feel. You're not their medicine. It feels like the only medicine is to leave that type of relationship. Stop arguing, stop trying to convince them, stop trying to get them to care, stop trying to get them to see your point of view. It feels like there's a bit of an obsession and addiction to trying to convince this person, even in your head, when you're not with them. Like, if I could just say it in a way, and then they would see it and they would be like, oh my gosh, I get it. And they'd be working. That's not it. They just want you to stop complaining and make them happy, which is an impossible job because it's an inside job. You can't make someone else happy. So what it looks like you've been involved in is leadership training. It's not the happily ever after feels like you might have thought that this was your happily ever after, and instead it's a lesson, a lot of lessons about from childhood, maybe unhealed childhood wounds around neglect. Feels like there's a lot of neglect from childhood, a lot of making you responsible for how people feel. And so this, to leave these type of toxic systems takes an enormous amount of bravery, leadership skills, to because you have to do it alone. And yeah, and figure things out, reconnect the dots in a different way, heal. But you can't heal this relationship. This is not, it's disappointing to say the least, because it's not what you thought you were investing your time and energy into. All right, what's supporting you is the High Priestess. Your intuition, keeping things to yourself, intuitive hits. That's the second time the High Priestess has shown up in this reading. It feels like whoever I'm talking to, you had a bit of awakening. Despite the programming in your life, it feels like those lower chakras were waking up, and kind of waking up your third eye chakras. A lot of chakras. Okay. Wow. All right. It feels like you're getting intuitive hits, guidance. To leave a comfort zone. It feels like this relationship is a comfort zone. It feels terrifying to leave. Purposefully so. Purposefully so, this person chips away at your security, at your stability. So you don't abandon them. You abandon yourself and cleave to this person, cleave to the relationship. Have nothing left, because it feels like if you want anything, if you have friends, if you have anything that you're going after, this person just destroys it. And so your nervous system gets so terrified of having anything for yourself that you just isolate. Stop trying, stop having friends, stop having other relationships, and focus solely on this person. It's done purposefully so, just over time. And so by the time you realize, oh my gosh, this is never going to change, you're exhausted, you're depleted, you're terrified because you're not really the same version of yourself. You're out of alignment chronically. You might have chronic exhaustion, chronic depression. And so it takes a lot of courage to figure your stuff out and leave these environments. Looks like using your intuition to help you recognize when to make moves, what to do. Yeah, I think you're choosing to be happy despite what you're learning, what you've learned and perceived. That you thought you were in a you're in a relationship with someone who is working with you, only to realize that this person is not your friend. They've been manipulating you. However, to leave this system is dicey. It's nerve-wracking because this person feels like they own you. There's codependence here, and it feels like you're drained, completely exhausted. To end this relationship, it feels like the person you're in a relationship with makes it as personally painful as possible for you. And quite possibly there's third parties. Because this is, yeah. This person, the person you're leaving, have left, not sure where you are, it looks like they juggle, they play people, they want to control the narrative around the ending. My advice here is, it feels like you already, an ego death, going at it alone. Part of the ego death is just letting this person tell whatever story they want to whomever they want. Because while they're busy trying to control your narrative, you're focusing on reimagining, taking action. What steps do you need to take? How can you create stability for yourself? How can you provide abundance for yourself? How can you start whatever you are depending on this person for? How can you provide that for yourself and start working towards new beginning? It feels like there's a window of opportunity at the end of a relationship when you realize that this can't be fixed finally and are ready to leave this connection. This person, there's a lot of smear campaigns and needing to control the narrative. What I'm seeing is let them focus on that while you focus. Don't communicate any of this and start focusing on where am I going to live? Do I have access to all my bank accounts? Do I have an attorney? Do you need an attorney? Do I have a support group? Do I have a doctor? Can I get a therapist to help me navigate this with the difficult emotions? How can you start taking care of yourself and start making moves towards new life, new beginning, facing your fears? Because while this person is out just telling everybody issues, you could be focusing on really making moves and making progress. So by the time this person is looks up, as you don't even care who they've told what story to, because the people who are interested in that story and not calling you to see what's up, how can I help you, they're not your friends anyway. So taking care of yourself, leading yourself. All right. What to be mindful of is the Queen of Pentacles. This is finding your stability, your security, resources. What resources do you have? What resources do you need? Can you tap into those? This feels a lot about base chakra, your physical world, your physical body, getting yourself safely to another location that's yours, and getting this person just slowly disentangling. Do you have cutting them out of online accounts, changing your passwords, changing the locks on the doors? Talking to an attorney would be very helpful to find out what your rights are. Feels like you have a lot more resources than you might think. Anything else? Five of Swords. I think that's where this person's going to try to attack, make it difficult for your resources. So they're going after, it feels like a smear campaign, telling everybody to try to get to them first with the story. Just let them. Honestly, anybody who's believing that story and doesn't call you immediately, like, what's up with this? They're not your friends. They're trying to attack the viewer's resources because they've got this win at any cost, and it means something if you are able to move on without them. They need to be seen as a hero, and if you have a glow up, they can't tolerate that, and you are really in line for a glow up. There's a lot of emotions. It's hard to walk away from this. There's a lot of emotional attachments because you've just been trying to make this work for so long. Anything else what the viewer needs to be mindful of? I'm seeing the less you talk, the less you communicate. The gray rocking, that's what this is. Five of Wands in reverse. Don't give them any emotions. They want to see you hurt. They want to see you act unhinged. They want to see you act out. That feels like that would go great with the story they're telling. So the best way you can disappoint this person is to just be, yeah, okay, whatever. Yep, whatever. It's not worth the fight because you're going to have a glow up. You're going to move on, and without this person, and they're trying to magician reverse you. They're trying to control the narrative about you. Oh, because they lost control of you. And so now they're going to control the narrative about you. And now they want to decimate you so you can't move on. King of Cups. It looks like you've emotionally matured. Or there's this potential to just recognize that's what this person's doing, and then just not give them the benefit. Just don't give them any of your emotions. Don't fight. It's so disappointing for this person. If you don't act out, if you don't fight, if you don't get mad at them, and instead just move on, it feels like a lot of happiness, a lot of maturing, happening quite quickly, because to be in this kind of relationship, it's with someone very emotionally stunted, immature. And so, of course, once you leave this environment, there's a lot of emotional maturing. It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm maturing. It feels like, oh, yeah, I really handled that in a real weird way. I've kind of stuck in old ways of perceiving things. And there's a lot of maturing once you leave this environment. So I'm going to do an extended reading if you're interested, if this has been resonating and you want to keep following. There's a link in the description box below. It says extended reading here. You click on that link. It takes you right to Patreon and part 2 of this reading. I'll see you over there. Have a great day. Bye.